Alright, so I just got back from watching Monkey Man, the directorial debut of Dev Patel. And I have to say, I really like Dev Patel as an actor. This is the first action-oriented role I've seen him in, so I was super excited to see what directing chops he had and what action chops he had. And I'm pleased to say he's fairly competent at both. He's a really good action star. I can definitely see him, if not directing more action movies, starring in more action movies after this. And I definitely think he has the directing chops to continue. He's not perfect by any means in directing at least action scenes. He's better than a lot that I have seen, but unfortunately, there are many parts of the action where they utilize shaky cam, which is something that I myself am not a big fan of. I know a lot of other people aren't a big fan of as well. It's just kind of hard to not pay attention, but to just kind of take everything in. I prefer action. I think most people do prefer action to be completely on camera. You can see everything clearly. You can follow things easy. But shaky cam it's kind of hard to follow who's attacking who, what moves are being used, and that type of stuff. It's not used all the time, but it was used enough to frustrate me a little bit. But that being said, everything else, directing wise, Dev Patel does a really good job of it. And of course, he is a phenomenal actor, and he's good in this. He's good acting wise in this movie as well. I see if you watch the trailers and it looks like Indian John Wick. That kinda is what it is, except the character that Dev Patel plays, he calls himself Bobby, but I think the credits refer to him as the Kid. He's not like John Wick, where John Wick is a hardened, trained, skilled assassin, whose entire being is a deadly weapon. This guy is that Dev Patel plays, the Kid, is definitely ferocious and very animalistic. They call him Monkey Man for a reason. And there's a lot of gnarly, brutal kills that he's able to pull off, especially in the second half of the movie. But he's not like John Wick, and this is one of the things I like about him, is that he gets the crap beat out of him. He's not invulnerable. I like action heroes that get beat up. It makes you root for them even more. It's one of the reasons why I like Indiana Jones so much, is we see Indiana Jones get beat up all the time. And it takes him a while to take guys down. And so the same can be applied to this guy. So if it makes it easy to root for him because he's more approachable, he's more realistic, he feels more like a normal guy that can make mistakes or is not completely invulnerable. Not that John Wick is invulnerable, but he is on a other level. He's like a superhero, basically. So that's something I enjoyed about this movie. This movie is also very pleasing aesthetic-wise. The use of color. There's a lot of really dark blacks and a lot of moody reds and blues, and kind of like Lisa Frankenstein a couple months ago. This is a movie that I feel like I can just have on in the background with no sound and just use it as like a screensaver. That's how pretty with the color this movie is. So skewing a bit more towards the negative side, I liked this movie, but I didn't love it. And one of the reasons why is because when it wasn't doing action, it felt like the movie's focus was all over the place. There's a couple storylines and a couple themes that it's trying to hit, and it doesn't do any of them particularly very well. There's some political stuff that they put in the movie that it doesn't focus on it for very much. It just mentions it. But so it just makes me wonder why have this in the movie at all if it's not really going to have that much bearing on the plot. They also delve a little bit into the kid's backstory, why he is the way he is, why he wants revenge. If you see the trailers, he wants revenge on people. But for some reason, they tell you a lot early on, and then they have a flashback scene kind of near the halfway point of the movie, and that where they reveal his whole backstory. But you've seen enough in the beginning to kind of get the idea that the big reveal doesn't really reveal anything that you haven't figured out. So it's nothing that new. So it is nice to get a little bit more context into why he doesn't like these people. but at the end of the day, it's still stuff that you kind of already figured out from the beginning of the movie if you're paying any attention. There's also kind of a side story going on with him in a ring, in a boxing ring with boxing matches that by the time that little side story finishes, it doesn't feel like it had that much to do with the main plot. And so then again, I ask, why is this in the movie? I mean, it does have some fun scenes and some fun stuff, but it seems kind of unnecessary. It felt like it existed just to make the movie longer. There's also certain characters that are set up in the beginning of the movie that feel like they're going to do something later on in the story or have some sort of payoff, but they just kind of disappear, or when they do show up, it's just for one scene, and then they just kind of leave the story and don't have that much of an impact on our main character or the plot in any way. So yeah, kind of a mixed bag. I am leaning a bit more positive on this movie because the action is a lot of fun. There is some very brutal kills in this movie. This movie is very edgy in the violence department. So it's not for the faint of heart. If you get queasy easy seeing a lot of blood or, people getting hacked to pieces, don't watch this movie. This movie's not for you. You will not be comfortable. But if that doesn't bother you, then you should have a lot of fun watching the action scenes and seeing get people beat up. Again, the shaky cam is a bit annoying, but there's not too much of it to really ruin the action. It's there enough to be kind of annoying. But yeah, I'd say as far as a directorial debut goes, it's pretty solid. I mean, Dev Patel his first movie is better than any movie I could ever make. So he's got that going for him. And I hope that he is in more action movies after this and can direct more and kind of hone his craft, because he's definitely got the talent. I can see it there. So I hope this movie does well just for the sake of Dev Patel, so he can continue making movies like this and make better movies in the future. But that being said, Monkey Man is in theaters. If you're interested, you can go ahead and check it out.